These are 5 tools you've never heard of before. Probably, maybe. Well, let's find out. Every woodworker on earth has heard of the gripper. Well, maybe not on earth, but if you've ever watched a YouTube video, you know what I'm talking about. This is the Micro Jig Gripper, one of my favorite push blocks I've ever had, and one of the most popular ones if you watch any YouTube video. Micro Jig just released this Gripper 2 Go, and they sent this one for me to try out, and it is awesome. Now, the Gripper 2 Go comes with a little sticker that you stick right on top of the scale on your table saw. Super easy to apply. And it's more of a static stick, so it's not going to leave a sticky residue if you ever want to remove that. What that does is give you a visual guide when you set your table saw, and then you look at the scale that's on the gripper, which one of those are going to correspond to where the blade's at. In other words, it's going to tell you whether or not you've got clearance there so you don't cut your push block. For instance, you can see exactly what color it is there. When you come over here, if I've got it this way, it says no cut. Because of that color, if I was to try to cut there, the blade is going to cut into the bottom of that push block because it's supposed to ride against the fence. However, if I turn this around, now we got corresponding colors, and I know with just a glance that that will clear the blade every time. That is a super cool feature. And as you move your saw out, you can see the indicator. It will go into those different colors, and that's going to correspond with the color on the push stick. This color code index that you put on the table saw will not affect anything about that. It's very, very thin, like very thin. It's not going to affect your measurements. It's not going to throw your table saw off, anything like that. I think that's pretty genius that they come up with a color code idea. Just at a glance, you flip it over, decide which side you're going to use, and you know as soon as you look, you're not going to cut into your push block. You're safe to use this down to 5/16 of an inch thin of a strip that you're ripping. You can also use these push blocks at the jointer, or the bandsaw, or the router table. Anywhere you use a normal push block, these work. It has that nice grippy bottom on there, just like the grippers are known for, and it's a very nice, hard, durable plastic, so you're not gonna worry about getting that into the blade and causing any issues. I like this design because just like the other gripper, you're able to keep pressure directly over the blade while you make your cut. Your cuts are more accurate, safer, and virtually eliminating any kickback because you're able to put the proper amount of pressure down and toward the fence as well as through the blade the entire cut. These are super awesome. I'll drop a link if you're interested. You may have heard of the Poloni pocket rules from Woodpeckers. It's got a slide rule on it. It's a rule. It's expensive. We know that if it's a Woodpecker's product. However, for less than $25 for the ruler plus 2 slide rules, either a 3/4 inch or a 1 inch width, depending on the size ruler you want, or both, you get an excellent layout tool for your shop, as well as like just setting the depths of aprons on legs consistently, or marking the same lines consistently. Like, these things are super handy to have, and I use them all the time. This is a 6-inch ruler. It comes with a 2. I usually only use 1, so if you got an extra ruler, you can throw them on theirs. I have these rulers that are also benchmarked that are 64th and 32nds, and they fit on those as well. That's why if you really need to get some precision down, this is the way to go. Or if you just need more contrast, there's these black on white with the rule. That's a cool look too. One thing I really like about a slide rule on a ruler is the fact that you can put it there at 1 inch and tighten it down, and it self squares. So now you've got basically a square there that you can mark. Or if you just wanted to lay out a parallel line, you could do that with the rule stop. And then of course, laying out any lines or marks to drill. If you're going to drill a hole there, you need to do that consistently. We can do that all the way down through. There's tons of uses for these things, and at this price, they're almost a must-have. And the benchmark rulers are actually extremely nice, and probably one of the most underrated rulers that you can buy. Extremely accurate. These are Japanese stainless steel, tempered, and they're satin finish, so you're not going to get a bunch of glare or anything like that from your shop lights or work lights, and they're just really easy to read. This ruler comes in 8ths and 16ths, which is what most of us will use. But again, if you wanted extra accuracy, you can get the one with the 32nds or the 64ths. In my personal opinion, it's 100% worth picking up a 12 and a 6-inch and having both. I typically use the 6-inch more, so if you're only gonna get one, grab the 6-inch, you'll use it all the time, but that 12-inch is also handy to have if you're just laying out a bunch of stuff in your shop. Most people have heard of and seen 1, 2, 3 setup blocks before. We're not talking about that one. Talking about these 1, 2, 3 blocks. These are from Bow Products, and they're EVA Foam Blocks. What are they for? Let me show you. Now, you may have heard of Bow Products before. They make push sticks that are safer. They have an EVA foam tip in there so they don't shatter and break and cause injuries. They also have feather boards that have that EVA foam in there that I've built jigs before in that video. I'll link that below if you're interested. But these are blocks for a couple of different purposes. So you get a 1-inch, a 2-inch, and a 3-inch version of these. And what's great about that is that you can stack the 1 and 2 together, and then you've got 2 3-inch blocks. That gives you a little elevated surface to work on in case you want to do routing or drilling or anything you need to get that up off the surface for, or cutting. And speaking of cutting, if you cut into these or drill into these or your router bit gets into these, this foam will not damage or hurt your blades or bits in any way. So that's a really good feature there. These are great for the drill press if you just wanted to use them for a backer just to prevent tear out or anything like that. I really like them to elevate pieces that I'm going to route, especially if I'm just doing a round over or something like that. They're great for that purpose. And main reason is if you use 2 pieces of scrap, those have a tendency to slide around a little bit, where these have a little grip to them and it'll prevent that slipping. And we all know slippage is bad. And because they are EVA foam, they don't compress a whole lot, so they're really sturdy, especially for supporting lumber or just using the drill and cut, things like that. They're not gonna bend and squish on you and move all over the place. This is a really cool product. Next on the list, if you've known about this and you didn't tell me, shame on you, because I didn't know these existed. I use this right here on the bandsaw, but you can use it multiple places. I'll show you, and it's this. Check this out. It's a magnetic work light. Most people don't have very well lit shops. Even this shop is well lit, but shadows and things like that really start to play with you when you're trying to make really nice detailed cuts. And that's where I like this light. It is super bright. Watch your eyes. It is super bright, but it's not overly bright that it just washes out your cut lines and all that. And because it's on this neck, bendable, extendable, foldable neck, you can move it anywhere you want and get the exact position you want. I love it here on the bandsaw. One other feature I really like, this light has the switch here on the head. It is a magnet that you can switch off and take this off, move it wherever you want, and stick it back on, and then flip that switch and it turns back on, much like a mag switch does. Mag switch, the tool company. My bandsaw happens to have a plug right there that works extremely well. You can use this with the drill press. It will magnetically stick to pretty much anything metal. It'll also stick to my Omni wall here, and I can move it around and use it here at the workbench if I needed extra light right here. One great thing is it doesn't need electricity for the magnet to work. When you flip the switch on, it'll stick no matter if it's plugged in or not. Another cool little magnetic light is this one. I use this one here all the time. Matter of fact, it stays on 100% of the time because I need extra light right here. I work mostly right here on smaller things, especially laying out small things or just screwing around out here. I like that this little light is here, and it kind of gives a little accent to the sign back there. But for the most part, this is, again, flexible. It also has 3 levels on this one, 1, 2, 3. So if you need less or more light, even though it does have this light in the back, this light doesn't light up right above where I need to work. It gives a little bit of light, but I much prefer this light up here. And it's really bright. This is also magnetic, sticks right there, so you don't have to worry about it falling off. This just happens to be a metal hutch. If you've woodworked for very long at all, you know of the Festool Domino. This thing is very expensive. It's awesome, but man, this is expensive. You may not have heard of this though. It fits several different routers. I've got my DeWalt cordless router in there. It's easy to install, and it does the exact same thing for the most part as a Festool Domino. Let me show you how it works. First thing to do is I just took the fixed base off of my router and installed it into this base. It's really easy to do. 4 screws, tighten those down. I put a bit in there. I think this bit's like a 1/4 inch downcut bit for the CNC, but it works well for these dominoes that I'm going to be using. This thing has 3 different adjustments. You can adjust side to side, in other words, how wide your mortise is going to be. It'll also adjust the depth here so you can set it where it's going to be close to the center of the board or as close as you can get it. It has a tiny scale here on the side of that depth adjustment, but it's very difficult for me to read. And it also has a depth stop going in and out so you don't plunge too deep. Pretty cool. One thing I don't care for is, man, it feels sketchy as all get out whenever you start plunging because that spinning bit is so close to your hand. Like, man, it's scary. It's really scary if you value your hand at all. However, after I've done a few of them, everything seems to be okay, but man, it's just, still makes me nervous. However, the fit and finish is really good. I put these 2 boards together just like I was building a panel, like a tabletop or whatever wide panel you're putting together. I got off a little bit. I didn't hold it just right. I'm about at 32nd, maybe not quite a 16th, but I'm off a little bit there, side to side. But as you can see, this thing is perfectly flat. It mated those up perfectly flat, which is really what you're after on panels. I originally was going to do a butt joint or a T-joint here. Because my board was too narrow, it actually wouldn't set inside that depth stop and went in between there. So I couldn't do that. So if you're trying to do thinner stock, then this isn't going to work. But for panels and things like that, it's a pretty cool little option. If you would like to see a full review of this little jig, let me know. Comment below. If you like this video, you'll love 5 tools you've never seen before. There's 5 more right there. Go click them, click in the box, get to the big old virtual fist bump. Also, another one of my favorite videos, 5 tools every woodworker needs, right there.